It is Christmas Day, 1941. The air over Pearl Harbor still smells of smoke and oil. 18 days after the world ended for the United States Navy, a single man steps off a seaplane, wearing a plain civilian suit. Instead of the gold braid a conquered fleet might expect, he does not walk like a savior. He walks like a man arriving at a funeral he was never invited to. His name is Chester W. Nimitz, and the only thing more surprising than his calm is the reason he was chosen at all. On the day the bombs fell, he was 2,000 miles away. He carries no guilt. He carries no fingerprints on the disaster. And that, more than any medal on his chest, is why he is here. Grief needs a face. In Washington, a stunned Congress and a humiliated public are not asking what failed. They are demanding who failed. A system cannot be put on trial, but a man can. And so the machinery of blame turns toward one officer, Admiral Husband E. Kimmel, commander at Pearl Harbor, on the morning it burned. In a single week, a man's 40-year career, meticulous, brilliant, devoted, is reduced to a name in a press release. He is not accused of cowardice or treason. He is simply erased, set aside, a sacrifice offered up to calm a wounded nation. What the Japanese bombs could not finish, fear now threatens to complete. Officers write letters in the dark, whispering in corridors, positioning themselves for a coming storm of investigations. A culture of caution hardens into a culture of terror. The real danger is no longer Tokyo, it is the next telegram from Washington. Taking a risk and failing is no longer a tactical mistake, it is professional suicide. And so, 2,000 miles away, 500 United States Marines defending a speck of coral called Wake Island send a desperate signal for help, and a paralyzed high command turns the rescue fleet around. No help is possible. The island falls. Brave men become prisoners, sacrificed not to the enemy, but to fear. Nimitz's predecessor gestures toward the harbor's overlook, the customary first stop, the panoramic, heartbreaking view of Battleship Row, where the Arizona, the Oklahoma, the West Virginia lie broken in oily water. It is the symbol of America's darkest hour. Nimitz barely glances at it. He has already seen the photographs. Instead, he asks to see the submarine base, the repair docks, the fuel depots. While everyone around him mourns what was lost, he is searching, quietly, for what remains. The Japanese pilots, fixated on battleships, never touched the tank farms. 189 steel cylinders holding over 4.5 million barrels of fuel. Had they fallen, the entire Pacific Fleet would have retreated to California, and the war might have been lost for years. Nimitz sees what no one else has said aloud. Pearl Harbor was not a knockout blow. It was a bloody nose. The heart of the fleet, its logistics, its docks, its lifeblood, is still beating. Tradition demands a grand change of command ceremony on the deck of the fleet's flagship. But the flagship is in dry dock, her bow torn open by a Japanese bomb. So Nimitz makes a quiet, deliberate choice. He takes command not on a battleship, but on the narrow deck of a submarine, the USS Grayling. Without a single word, he sends a message that ripples through the entire Navy. The old doctrine, the age of decisive battleship duels, is dead. A new war has begun. In his office, Nimitz meets the staff he inherited from the disgraced Kimmel, the very officers on watch when the bombs fell. Chief among them is Commander Edwin Layton, the intelligence officer who felt an attack coming but could not name the place. Layton walks in already defeated, offering his resignation before anyone can ask for it. Nimitz refuses it. He refuses all of them. The attack on Pearl Harbor happened, he tells Layton, but as far as I'm concerned, that's all in the past. In a Navy devouring itself in search of scapegoats, one man has just declared the hunt over. Down a flight of stairs, beneath the administration building, is a windowless concrete vault they call the dungeon, Station Hypo. At its center sits Commander Joseph Rochefort, brilliant, eccentric, working in a smoking jacket and worn slippers, surrounded by overflowing ashtrays and the misfit geniuses of the Navy, mathematicians, crossword fanatics, musicians pulled from a sunken ship's band. Nimitz walks in, sits down, and does something almost no admiral does. He listens. He sees past the bathrobe. He sees a mind at work worth more than any battleship. Rochefort is certain the next Japanese target is Midway. Washington insists it's the Aleutians. Certainty is not proof, and Nimitz cannot risk his entire fleet on a feeling. So Rochefort devises a trap of his own. Order Midway to broadcast, in plain, uncoded language, a lie. We are running low on fresh water. 2 days later, a Japanese transmission is intercepted, encrypted, urgent. When it is decoded, 4 words settle the fate of the Pacific War. AF is short of water. The target is confirmed. Midway. Washington's official intelligence bureau dismisses Rochefort's theory outright. They believe the true target is the Aleutians, and that Midway is a deception. Admiral Ernest King, nicknamed Old Indestructible, a man who trusts systems, not mavericks, sends warning after warning. You are misreading the intelligence. You are exposing the homeland. You are about to lose our last carriers. Nimitz sits 5,000 miles from his own commander, being told by the Navy's own experts that his entire strategy is a delusion. If he is wrong, he will not just lose his career. He will be remembered as the man who lost the Pacific. In the quiet before the decision that will define the war, Nimitz picks up a telephone and calls the man he refused to fire. Leighton, he says, "Are you and Rochefort certain?" There is no hesitation in the answer. Certain. That is all Nimitz needs. He will disregard the warnings of his own superiors. He will bet everything, the fleet, the future of the Pacific, his own name in history, on the word of a man in a bathrobe in a basement 3,000 miles away. On May 27, 1942, the USS Yorktown limps into Pearl Harbor, not a proud warship, but a specter. A Japanese bomb tore through 4 decks before exploding, killing and wounding dozens, leaving her flight deck a mangled ruin, a 10-mile oil slick trailing behind her like an open wound. The Navy's best engineers deliver their verdict: 90 days to repair her properly. Nimitz looks at the twisted steel, then at the men before him, and speaks 4 words that defy physics itself: "We must have this ship back in 3 days." What follows is not a repair, it is a resurrection. 1,400 workers descend on the Yorktown. Welders, electricians, carpenters, men pulled straight from other shifts, who simply grab a tool and ask where they're needed. The rulebook is thrown overboard. They don't replace the bent steel frames. They weld new ones on top of the old. They don't fix the fuel lines. They flood the tanks with inert gas and pray. For 72 sleepless hours, the dry dock burns brighter than day, lit by 1,000 welding torches, the roar of pneumatic hammers echoing across a harbor, still healing from its own wounds. This is not the Navy of Pearl Harbor. This is a Navy that has remembered how to fight for each other. Then, one more crisis. Admiral Halsey, the Navy's most aggressive and beloved carrier commander, is bedridden, his body covered in stress-induced illness, unable to lead. From his hospital bed, he recommends an unlikely successor, Raymond Spruance, a black shoe cruiser admiral who has never once commanded a carrier task force. The naval aviators view him with open suspicion. He is an outsider stepping into the most important command of the war. Nimitz looks past the resume. He does not need a brawler seeking vengeance. He needs a mind cool enough to trust a codebreaker's fragile secret. He hands Spruance the fleet. Every card is now on the table. A patchwork carrier crewed by exhausted men, a tactician who has never led a carrier fleet, a battle plan built entirely on the word of an eccentric genius in a basement. Nimitz gives the order, not north to defend Alaska, as Washington demands, but northeast of Midway, to a stretch of empty ocean, marked on the charts with chilling, quiet irony. Point luck, there is no backup plan, no reserve fleet. Every carrier the United States has left in the Pacific is now sailing, together, into the dark. History remembers the Battle of Midway as 5 minutes that changed the world, the moment American dive bombers found Yamamoto's carriers exposed and unleashed a war-ending blow. But the truest victory was already won, weeks earlier, in quiet rooms far from any gunfire. It was won the moment a new commander chose trust over blame. It was won in a basement full of misfits nobody believed in. It was won in 72 hours of impossible welding. Yamamoto had planned for a broken, frightened enemy. He never accounted for a quiet man in a civilian suit who came not to command a battle, but to stop a navy from destroying itself, and in doing so, made the victory possible.